Okay. Geometry Chapter 1 Study Guide. Identify the letter of the choice that best completes this statement. Find a counter example to show that the conjecture is false. The conjecture says the product of two positive numbers is greater than the sum of the two numbers. Can you give me an example of where that might not be true? B. 2 and 2. Number 2. Which diagram shows the plane PQR and the plane QRS intersecting only in line QR? C is your answer. Okay. Short answer. Based on the pattern, what are the next two terms in the sequence? What are the next two terms in the sequence? Well, what does it look like they're doing? The denominator's multiplying by 3. So the next one would be 5 over, okay, and then 5 over, okay. Any questions on number 3?
There's one more.
Did it ask for another one? What's the next one, Colin?
Let me look it up.
No, I want to do it. I want to do it.
2,187.
Okay.
Right?
Number 4 says, based on the pattern, make a conjecture about the sum of the first 20 positive even numbers. Well, the first number, its sum is 2. The first 2 even numbers have a sum of 6. The first 3 even numbers have a sum of 12. The first 4 have a sum of 20. Now, what they've done is they've taken those sums and they've made them into multiplication problems. The first number is 1 times 2. The first 2 numbers are 2 times 3. The first 3 numbers are 3 times 4. The first 4 numbers are 4 times 5. The first 5 numbers are 5 times 6. What do you think the first 20 would be? What would you do? What math problem could you do to come up with that answer? 20 times what? 21. Every single time, the first number is multiplied by 2. The first 2 numbers needs to be multiplied by 3. The first 3 numbers have to be multiplied by 4. So the first 20 need to be multiplied by 21. Yes, that you would multiply 20 times 21. Now, if you gave me that actual answer, that'd be just fine too. That'd be fine. The sum is 20 times 21. That just make it very simple. Very, very simple sentence. Alfred is practicing typing. The first time he tested himself, he could type 23 words per minute. After practicing for a week, he could type 26. After 2 weeks, he could type 29. Based on this pattern, predict how fast he will be able to type after 4 weeks of practice. This is after 1 week of practice. This is after 2 weeks of practice. This number would be after 3, and this number would be after 4. So this is the number I'm looking for. What's the pattern here? Adding 3. So the number for 3 weeks would be 32, and the number for this week would be 35. So that is my answer.
Oh, that's the conjecture right here?
35 words per minute. Predict how fast. 35 words per minute. Yes. Name the plane represented by the front of the box. The front of the box. Yeah. The dotted lines indicate that they are the back sides of the box. So you could call that F, B, J, C, G, K. Any three. I would take any three of those letters. Number 7 says name the line and the plane in the diagram. The line is RS and it has to have that symbol on it. You could call it SR. The plane, you need to name 3 of the letters on the plane. R, U, S, T. Any 3 of those. Rust. Yeah, that's pretty cute, isn't it? Number 8. Name the intersection. Now, yeah, they don't give you a picture. Y'all listen. Name the intersection of plane BPQ and CPQ. Now, listen to my explanation. You don't have a picture. You do not have a picture. You do not need a picture. If 2 planes intersect, it's like 2 pieces of paper intersecting. Okay, so if I had this piece of paper and I intersected it with this piece of paper, okay, they're going to intersect. What's going to form when they intersect? A line. A line's going to form. And that line is contained in both planes. So it's going to have the same name. It's just one line, but it happens to fall in both planes. So it's got to be composed of points that occur in both planes. So what's common between BPQ and CPQ? So that's the line. That's their intersection. Just what do they have in common? Number 9 says, name the 4 labeled segments that are skew to CD. Here's CD. Now, skew means what? Skew means not touching, but in different planes, not parallel. Okay? Not parallel. So tell me one line that's skewed to CD. Okay, BF. I'll take that one. Okay. Give me another one. EG. Yes. Let me mark them as we go.
Aren't these segments not lines?
Yes, you're right. They are segments. BF, and you said AE?
But AE is not.
AE is another one. Oh, and EG was another one we said. And what's the last one? FH. Yes, so I don't need those arrows on there. I just need a simple line. AE, what else?
Would EF work?
FH. Would what work?
Would EH work?
EF. No. This pink line and that dotted line could be parallel if you slid a piece of paper through there.
Right.
Number 10.
Wait, what was it?
Number 10 says, yeah, you said EF. You got it? Okay. Which plane is parallel to E, F, H, G? That's that one on the bottom. What's parallel to that? That one on the top. So what do we call it? A, B, C, D. A, B, D, C, either of those things. What are we on now? 11? Find A, C. They want the distance. How far is it from A to C? A is located at -8. C is located at 4. How far do you have to walk to get from -8 to 4? How many steps? 12. Number 12. T is the midpoint of SU. What does midpoint tell you? When you see midpoint, what do you know?
Smack dab in the middle.
Find X and then find ST. Well, if you know that that's in the middle, those two segments are congruent. So 9X is equal to 4X plus 25. and we solve. Divide by 5. X is 5. Now what's the distance from S to T? They want you to plug that back in. That answer is 45. 13 says, what is the point, which point is the midpoint of AE? What's in the middle of AE?
SC equals 45, right?
Yes. What's in the middle from A to E? From negative 6 to 8. How far is it from negative 6 all the way to 8? It's 14 steps. So if you go 7 steps from either end point, you should be smack dab in the middle. Well, if you start at 8 and you go back 7 steps, where are you going to be? At 1, and what coordinate is that? So D is the midpoint of that segment. 14 says MO bisects. What's the word bisects mean? Bisect. Dissect and bisect. Let's talk about that. Those, what do you call it, the part that you put on the front of a word? Prefix? Let's talk about what those mean. Dissect means you're going to cut into something, right? Bisect cuts it in half.
It dissects, it cuts it open.
Just cuts it open, but bisect cuts it in smack dab half. So, if this is bisected, this angle and this angle are the same size. Angle LMN, the big angle, is 5x minus 23. LMN is 5x minus 23. That's the big one. LMO, this one, is x plus 32. What's the relationship between the green and the pink? The green is half of the pink. The green is half of the pink. How many greens will it take to equal the pink? 2. So what I would do is say, 2 of the greens, which is x plus 32, equals 5x minus 23. I would solve that equation. Distribute. Question? Okay. What do we do next?
And it's just a normal drop.
64 equals 3x minus 23. Add 23. What is that? 87? X is 29. If x is 29, what's 29 plus 32? 61. So this is 61 degrees, and this is 61 degrees. What's the whole thing? What's the pink angle? 122. The question didn't ask for that. The question asked you for NMO. This is the answer to the question that they're asking. Okay. Number 15. Find the distance between these 2 points. So you have 8, 2, which is P, and 3, 8, which is Q. So use the distance formula. What does the distance formula say? Okay, step number 1. Label your points. X of 1, Y sub 1. X of 2, Y sub 2. Step number 2, substitute. Square root of Okay, what goes in first? X sub 2, which is 3. What goes in next? 8. This 8 right here. What goes in next? Okay. And then 2. Number 3, subtract. Number 4, square. Number 5, add. What is that? The 61 again? Okay, number 6. Depending on how they want you to simplify. This answer said round to the nearest tenth, so you're going to put that in your calculator, and it's 7.8. That is my answer for number 15. Okay? Questions about using the distance formula? If you're careful and you take your time, you shouldn't have any trouble. 16. A high school soccer team is going to Columbus to see a professional soccer game. A coordinate grid is superimposed on a highway map of Ohio. The high school is at 3-4, stadium is at 7-1. A highway rest stop is halfway between the cities. What are the coordinates of the rest stop? And then what is the distance between the high school and the stadium? How are you going to find the coordinates of the rest stop? Midpoint. So 16, I need to take the high school, which is at 3-4, and the stadium, which is at 7-1, and I need to find the midpoint. What's the formula for midpoint? Okay, so you need to label, just like we did previously. Okay, here we go. What do we do first? Put your numbers in there. What goes first? Plus? Okay. And then? Okay. So 3 plus 7 is? 10 over 2 is 5. 4 plus 1 is 5 over 2 is 2.5. This is the midpoint. I think that's what they call it at the rest stop. Okay. Now what's the next part of the question say? What's the distance between the high school and the stadium? So the next thing you need to do is find the distance between something. You know the rest stop, you know the high school, and you know the stadium. Be sure you're using the right 2 locations. They want you to use those locations. We're going to use the distance formula again. Okay, what goes in first?
7.
Okay. Okay. So we have which 4 squared is what? 16. That's 9. Square root of 25. Just 5. But that's not the answer they're looking for. That's how many units on this. They took a grid and put it on top of the map. They tell you a little more information in there. 1 unit is 6.4 miles. So you've got to multiply that by 6.4. Is it 32? So our approximate distance is 32 miles.
They didn't even tell us 16 miles in between is the rest stop.
That's right. 16 miles to the rest stop. You're exactly right.
But you got to find the coordinates for the problem.
Okay, 17 says find the coordinates of the midpoint of a segment with these endpoints. So we're using the midpoint formula again. So here's number 17.
I hope we're gonna have more room for this on the test.
You may just have to use scratch paper, I don't know. Alright, here we go. Midpoint formula. This is X. This is Y. Okay. Let's label them. Alright, here we go. Plug them in. What goes first? Plus. And then? What's 8 plus 6? 14 over 2 is? Okay, and 2 plus 10 is? Over 2 is? Alright, good deal. Now, look at 18. 18 is a different problem. It says M is the midpoint, and they tell you one endpoint, you find the other one. M is the midpoint of CF for the point C and F. Oh, wait. They want the distance. Here's C, here's M, here's F. Let's draw the picture. M's the midpoint. C is at 3, 4. F is at 9, 8. That's a comma. They want the distance here. They want this distance. What are some ways we could do that? Who's got a strategy for that?
We gotta find MF, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
I think we do the midpoint formula for C and F, and then when we get the midpoint, we do the distance formula for M and F.
Okay, we could do that. That'll work. Can you find the distance from C and F and divide it by 2?
Oh, yeah, good.
Which one's easier?
Dividing by 2, definitely.
Okay. So here's X of 1, Y sub 1, X of 2, Y sub 2. We're ready to go. Now we've done this several times, so y'all should know what goes first. What's going to go in here first? 9 minus 3, and then? Okay.
Oh.
6 squared plus 4 squared. 36 plus 16. What do we get there? Okay, which is, okay, if we find this answer, you get 7.2, right, Leah? And then you have to do what? Divide that by 2 and you get what? So that's approximately my answer. This is what the book did. They didn't give the estimate in rounded to the nearest tenth. They went ahead and simplified this. You don't know what the square root of 52 is, but is there a number from the list that goes into 52? A list of squares. Is there a number in the list of squares that goes into 52? I mean, is 52 divisible by 4? Is it divisible by 9? Is it divisible by 16? Is it divisible by 4? 4 goes into 52. So I'm going to break this down into the square root of 4 and the square root of, well, how many times did 4 go in there? 13 times.
So break it down.
Now what's the answer to the square root of 4? 2 square roots of 13. You don't know the answer to the square root of 13. So this is my answer. That's the entire distance. When I divide that by 2, I get the square root of 13. Now, I would take either one of those answers. It doesn't matter to me. But if they've worked it this way, I want you to understand that and recognize that that's another correct form of the answer. Okay, we're just real used to stick it in our calculator, but they won't always do that.
So you divide by 2 because that 2's up top and it cancels each other out.
Right, now I divided by 2 because I wanted half the distance. Okay? Jose wants to put a fence around his rectangular garden. His garden is 33 by 39. My drawing is not drawn to scale. The garden has a path around it that's 3 foot wide. So we're going to add a path on either side. So here's the fence. The fence is going out here. What are the dimensions of the part we're going to fence? So if this were 33, how much did I add on either side?
6.
Right, so this is 33 plus 6, which is what? 39. And this dimension was 39, and I added how much to it? 6, so now it's 45. So to enclose my garden, I need 39 times 2 plus 45 times 2. Did you come up with 168 feet of fencing?
45
Okay, 20 is going to be the last one we do today. I think that gets us halfway, may even get us further than halfway. Find the circumference of the circle in terms of pi. What's the formula for circumference? Pi times diameter. What's the diameter in this one? Diameter is what? 78. So this would be pi times 78. It's customary to write it as 78 pi. They said leave it in terms of pi, so that's my answer, 78 pi. Okay, we will pick up with 21 tomorrow. You need to work on the rest of this, the rest of the class period.